Hey friends, Matt here. We're marching on through the 70s. This is going to be the top 70 albums of 1974. I'm all ready. Got my Hunter Thompson Gonzo shirt on. Took me even longer this morning to select all these CDs than usual because I've said on this show before, 1974, and I'll also include 1976 in with that, was not the greatest year for LPs. There's plenty of real good ones, but to my estimation, to these ears, very few classic or really great ones. So I'm going to go through the great ones, at the top of the list. And then what we're going to have is just dozens of what I would consider to be good albums. All right. I find, 72, 73 to be stronger years. 75 is a good year. 76 is kind of the same way. It's got Ramones and Songs in the Key of Life and then a whole bunch of good ones. And then it really picks up in 77, 78, 79 because of the punk movement. So, I'm going to take you through 1974. This is last year of the Vietnam War. It's Watergate. The country is still in that hazy aftermath of the 60s, although the 70s have fully set in by then. But the 70s in many ways, I think, were just an extension of the 60s. A lot of the bands I'm going to be showcasing today and a lot of the artists are not new. Their bands have been around for a while. Artists have been around for a while. Anyways, let's start. My last one of these things was 50 minutes, so I want to kind of cut it down. My number one choice, Joni Mitchell. Not even really a rock album, right? Court and Spark. I go back and forth. This is the Quadio version. This is her greatest achievement. This or Blue. This is the one you would give to, someone who doesn't really know Joni Mitchell in an attempt to explain to him, her, what Joni is all about. She's just starting to kind of get into some jazzy riffs here, but the jazzy Joni phase hasn't really started yet. That would kind of start, with Hissing of Summer Lawns or High Gira, take your pick. But she has that perfect blend here of, accessibility, listener-friendly music with pop hooks and, her more arty nature. So this is my favorite album of 1974. I'm in a real Joni Mitchell phase lately. I'm gonna do a show on her. Got to soon. Narrowly beating out my favorite rock album of the year, the second Big Star album. This is what it looks like. Oh no, that's the third one, isn't it? Wow, I don't know. See, this is the same. It's called Radio City. This is the same CD little set that I saw. No, that's the third album. Wow. Guys, I didn't know that they didn't show you a picture of Radio City on here. Well, they they do. It's a little black and white picture there. That's what it looks like. So, 1974, Chris Bell is gone. Alex Chilton is in charge. It's brilliance from beginning to end. Possibly the ultimate power pop album of the 70s. Power pop's not really a phrase you hear a whole lot of anymore. It was a bigger deal in the 80s, even in the 90s. But I got two great power pop albums I'm going to show you this year. And, if you consider some Todd Rundgren tracks on the Todd album to be power pop too. Okay, so anyways, Radio City, Big Star is my number 2 choice. Number 3 is a classic, folks. Fulfilling Us First Finale by Stevie Wonder. All right. Not as legendary as Talking Book, not as perfect as Inner Visions, not as successful as Songs in the Key of Life, but it's another classic 5-star Stevie Wonder album. Yes, the Big Star and the Joni Mitchell were 5-star albums too. All right. This is when he could do no wrong. He was a virtual one-man band. And, if you don't have any African-American music in your collection and you're just another suburban white boy who loves rock, you need to pick up on some Stevie, some Marvin Gaye, some Al Green, some P-Funk. I'm going to show you a part of my album on this video too. All right, but this is my favorite, soul or R&B album of this year. All right, I'm sorry, that was number 3. Number 4, Veed and Fleece. Why do I rate this album so high? Well, I told you on my Van Morrison video that this was my ex-wife's favorite Van Morrison album, more than Astral Weeks, which she also played to death. So I know every note of this record. I think it's a classic. I think it's the last time he essayed an album this good. He has other great albums, but this is still early classic Van to me. And this same year, he did a live album, which I'm going to get to soon, because I have any number of live albums. I'm going to show you this show. The 70s was the decade for live albums, especially the live double LP. And Van Morrison gave us one this year. But Weed & Fleece is close to perfection. And to my ears, it's a 5-star album. You know, your mileage may vary, of course. 1, 2, that was 4. 5. Probably my second favorite King Crimson record is Red. Red is just the trio of Fripp, Bruford, and John Wetton there. They had been reduced from the guys who had, he had formed for the Lark's Tongues and Aspic album the year before. He also made Starless and Bible Black this year. I'm going to have that coming up. Red is a monster. It's got metallic riffs on some of those songs. It's got the same kind of beautiful Crimson melodies when they want to do a nice ballad, but it rocks. And it's like, early industrial. I mean, it's progressive, of course, but they should have played this on the radio. But, program directors and DJs were just too cowardly when it came to this kind of stuff. All right, that's 5. Yes, it is. My top 5. Number 6. People are going to be like, oh my God, he rates that album high. Aerosmith, Get Your Wings. I'm an Aerosmith fanatic, guys. I told you about this. I've done an Aerosmith show, but it wasn't very popular. It was more popular than my Van Halen show, though. Jeez, you guys. I guess you guys don't like some American 70s arena rock. But I loves it because I remember when Aerosmith were kings. Get Your Wings is it doesn't have like any big hits, like Dream On from the previous album or Walk This Way from the next one, but it's wall-to-wall great song. What is it, 8 songs. Same as Led Zeppelin 4, same as Lynyrd Skynyrd's Second Helping, right? That's 8 songs, but it's just coming up next. These are just great rock albums that were popular, but they made, these bands made other, hold on, someone's sending me a message. Gotcha. These bands made other more popular albums. So these albums, I think, tend to get overshadowed, but this is great to me. I don't know why this is not considered a classic, and at least by guys like me who, grew up in America, in the suburbs in the 70s, and we were kids, and I just ate up stuff like this. So that was 6. Yes, it was 6. 7 is an album that's just as good. Lynyrd Skynyrd's Second Helping. Cut for cut, it's as good as any Skynyrd album. And this one does have a hit with Sweet Home Alabama. So why didn't I rank it higher than Aerosmith? Guys, again, and I have to remind you about this in all these videos, don't get hung up on the rankings, right? Because an album, this is just as good as Get Your Wings. Why did I put that one first? I don't know. A comes before L. I mean, subliminally, I don't know why I chose that one first, but this is just as good. All right? Here's the Low Fidelity version. This is probably stronger than their first album, Pronounced, and that's a great album. All right? So, that's 7. 8. It's Jackson Browne, perhaps his first classic album. I really enjoy the first 2. I put them on my year-end or on my year shows. This is an early triumph. It doesn't have any hits, it doesn't have a Doctor My Eyes or even a Redneck Friend, but I think it's more consistent, I think, than For Every Man. Again, 8 cuts, something about the 8 songs on an album. Boy, I'm trying to get rid of that glare. That made these albums really good. They're not suffused with extra songs. There's no filler on here. It's just great stuff. This is classic early Jackson Browne. Love that cover too. In the bed where we both lie, late for the skies. That's 6. That's 8. All right, 9. Steely Dan, Pretzel Logic. This is a very consistent album. That's the back of it. My CD of this is on the Citizen Dan box set. So whenever I'm showing you a Steely Dan album on these or CD on these shows, I'm just xeroxing off the artwork from Discogs, printing it out for you. Um, I probably like Countdown to Ecstasy more than Pretzel Logic, but there's not a weak cut on here. They were very consistent at this time. Nobody had this kind of sound, this kind of sophisticated, jazzy, but still rockin' kind of band with really, hipster, sarcastic lyrics. I mean, there was no one like Steely Dan. So they were just an awesome group at this time. I'm almost in awe of Fagen and Becker. Okay, and rounding out my top 10 is The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. I've had my issues with this record in the past, but right now I'm into it. I'm digging it. The last time that I synced this with a friend of mine, I really enjoyed it. It's an album that my entire life, it has grown on me. I had this kept me from being a Genesis fan for a few years because this could have been the first Genesis album I ever bought. And I did not grow up with Genesis. I said on my Genesis video, I remember this title song, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, being played on the radio when I was a kid. That was the only Peter Gabriel era Genesis song I ever heard on the radio. And then, of course, when Phil took over as the front man a few years later, you heard, what was it, Follow You, Follow Me, or whatever from, and then there were three. And then the slew of Genesis hits as sung by Phil Collins began. But, of course, like most Genesis fans, I'm a Peter Gabriel era guy. And this was the culmination of what they were capable of. I do still like Something in Them by the Pound better, but this is great. This is great. Every Peter Gabriel album he made with Genesis in the 70s is great or a classic. I'm not including From Genesis to Revelation, though. So that rounds out my top 10. That's Matt's top 10. Let's do 11 through 20. As I always tell you guys in these videos, my 11 through 20 are just albums, CDs, whatever, that narrowly missed the top 10 on another given day. Any of these albums could have made my top 10, right? It's just, this is how I'm feeling today. Number 11 is Yes, Relayer. More classic Yes. This is the only one that Patrick Moraz did with the band, the only studio album. And another classic Roger Dean cover. I just synced this the other night with a friend of mine, probably why I'm ranking this so high. It's great. I mean, Gates of Delirium is awesome, and side 2 is awesome too. Some would say this is the last time Yes would write or perform on an album this good. But I really like Going for the One. I probably like Relayer more than Going for the One, but it's close. Those are the last two classic albums that Yes made. Though I enjoy Drama. I enjoy 9125. Is that what it's called? 9125? Yeah, the one from 83. But love me some Relayer. And this is the Steven Wilson surround mix, which that's the way to hear Yes if you can, if you got the setup for it. Okay, that's 11. 12. Just synced this last night with a friend. Roxy, when I say sync, I mean I listen to it at the same time a friend of mine who's elsewhere listens to it, and we call each other and we put the CD that we decide to listen to it on, then we text each other while we're playing it, and then when it's done we call each other again and we pick another album. We'll do that for hours. Anyways, this is Country Life, which is, I go around and around whether I hate that glare. I go around and around whether I like this better than Stranded. Both of which, I think, today anyway, I like more than the first two Eno albums. Those are great too. Roxy Music and For Your Pleasure. But I'm going to say Stranded and Country Life are the two best Roxy albums. Siren's great too, but not as good as Stranded and Country Life. So this is great. Especially the first 4 songs on side 1. They're just awesome. Okay, that's 12. Yeah, 12. 13. I'm rating this kind of high, Diamond Dogs. I've been on a real Bowie kick lately, so. And the Ziggy albums were my favorite. Hold on a second. The Ziggy phase of his career was my favorite. And so of the 3 Ziggy albums, Ziggy Stardust, Aladdin Sane, and this one. This is the weakest one, but it's still good. It's still strong. It's still rocking. Bowie. Mick Ronson's gone, but David does the guitars, I think. I don't. This is pre-Errol Slick, right? But it's still great. And I'm going to include David live on the same show because he's one of those artists like Van Morrison, like Joni Mitchell too, who did a studio album and then a pretty good live album. I did not include Miles of Isles, though I don't have a problem with that album at all. But Van Morrison and Bowie, I wasn't gonna. And Dylan too. I didn't include. I am gonna have Planet Waves, but I didn't include Before the Flood, which I love. But I was just trying to showcase other artists rather than just another Dylan album, or another band album. So, anyways, here you are. Diamond Dogs. That's 13. 14 is many people's, possibly mine, favorite Camel album. I did a Camel show, and my progressive rock shows usually do well. You guys really weren't into Camel, or you didn't want to hear me talk about Camel. This is a really tremendous album, Mirage. It's better than their first one, Camel, from 73, and that was good enough to put on my 73 show last week. This could be their best one, although the next one, Snow Goose, and the one after that, Moon Madness, are pretty much equally as good. But this is very accessible, catchy prog, lots of great, long, meandering, but in a good way, kind of fusion, progressive rock tunes. Lyrics are okay, but vocals were never Camel's strong point, but the music's great, so I highly recommend Mirage. That's 14. 15, Rock and Roll Animal. Now, guys, I'm a much bigger fan of this album, which I know a lot of Velvet's fans and even Lou fans consider to be too rockist for their taste. But I like this more than I like Sally Can't Dance, which was his official, studio album for this year. I played this to death. I'm going to have the Velvet Underground's 1969 live on this show too, but you can see I'm rating this higher. I've played it more in my life, although now I'm starting to wonder about that. But I'm a big Lou Reed guy, and I had Berlin on my last show and Transformer in 72, and I'm going to include every good Lou Reed album I can as long as I do these shows. Rock and Roll Animal, that's my 15 choice. 16, Bob Marley and the Wailers, still with Peter, still with Bunny. This is Rastaman. No, I'm sorry, Natty Dread. Rastaman Vibration is 76. Natty Dread, in many ways, this is just as strong as Catch a Fire or Burnin'. It doesn't get the acclaim for some reason that those two do. I think it's stronger than Rastaman Vibration, and that's a great album too, But this could be the great unheralded Wailers album. All right. Again, don't have time to go over. Jeez, Claire. Don't have time to go over song titles with you guys. I'm trying to just go through this at a decent pace, but you can see how high I rate this. Natty Dread. That's 16. 17. Told you I'd have it. Van Morrison. It's Too Late to Stop Now. Classic live Van. 1974. Double LP. Jeez. But if I do that and you can't see it, I guess you can. All right. Some people like this more than Beat and Fleece. There's a great box set of this too. I don't have it. Otherwise, I would have showed it to you because I didn't have it when I did my Van Morrison video either. But there you go. Is this my first live album? Yeah, I think so. So I guess this is my favorite live album of 1974. Okay. That's 17. Okay, 18. Phases and Stages. Willie Nelson. This is the same Mofidelity twofer I showed you in the last show that had, the CD's falling out, that had Shotgun Willie. Phases and Stages is probably a little bit better album though. It's kind of like a concept album about a split, or a divorce, whatever, from the female point of view and the man's point of view. Both are good. It just shows you, Willie had more ambition. A country concept LP, and his next one, Red Headed Stranger, is another concept LP. So he was kind of influenced by rock, or was he? It's hard to tell. But Willie's always been embraced by rockers, which he's one of my favorite country artists. I would do a Willie Nelson show, but there's so many albums. Just to do the 60s and the 70s would be a huge number of LPs. But this is one of the better ones, so is Shotgun Willie. Phases and Stages. Okay. 19? Starless and Bible Black, King Crimson. Not quite as good as Red. There's live stuff on here, and there's very much improvisational stuff where they're just getting up on stage and making it up, which, you know, wouldn't work in a lesser band. And it's so experimental, even in this case, that it's not entirely everyone's favorite King Crimson material. But this is such a good album, though, that it just kind of blends right in with the rest of the flow of the LP. And who can argue with The Great Deceiver? And Lament. Those are classic King Crimson numbers. Okay, my number 20 is going to be a little different. It's a band I have not talked to you guys about. It's another progressive rock band, Renaissance. Turn of the Cards. This is my surround sound version. Renaissance were a great prog band, another English band with a wonderful female singer, and the music is great. And I'm going to be showing you some of their albums. I don't really have enough Renaissance records to do a show on them. I'd have to buy more CDs, and I'm trying to not do that as much anymore and just show you guys like what I already have. But when they were good, like they are here, they were among the best progressive rock bands of that time. And the 70s was the time for prog. So there you are. Turn of the Cards. All right, that's my 11 through 20. Let's do 21 through 30. All right. We're still in great, if not classic territory here. This is Randy Newman's Good Old Boys. This is virtually as good of an album as he ever made. Another kind of concept album, but not really, about people in the South and their attitudes, their mores. You know, this along with 12 Songs and Sail Away are quintessential Randy Newman. All right, so he, like Joni and Jackson, you know, were classic singer-songwriters of that era who were putting out just top-notch work in 1974. All right, that's 21. 22 is Burn. Burn is just a mofo of a record. David Coverdale was a singer here, but otherwise it's still almost, I mean, is the bass player still? Well, I can't read about it, but this is, I guess, Mach 3. They also, Deep Purple also did Stormbringer this year, which is not a bad album, and the title track is a classic, but this is a much more consistent. I mean, this is better than the last Mach 2 Deep Purple album, Who Do We Think We Are? It's going to be 3. This is, I mean, they hadn't made an album this good since Machine Head 2 years prior. So, and this is the last album of this quality Blackmore would ever make with the band. All right, I like Stormbringer. I like Perfect Strangers in the 80s, but neither one is as good as this. All right, so that's 21, no, 22. 23, Blue Oyster Cult, Secret Treaties. We're still in great land here, folks. I mean, this is as good an album as they made. I might prefer the first album to this, but not by much. And on another day, I might tell you this is their best album. It's still the black and white cover, you know, era, which is the first 3 albums were. Nicely capped off by the live On Your Feet or On Your Knees album in 75, which is so good. I may have to have that in my 75 show. We'll see. Cut for cut, there's no filler on here. It's as good an album as BOC ever made. That's 23. 24. 1969, Velvet Underground Live. This album did a lot towards resurrecting the career of the Velvet Underground in the mid-70s. This one and Rock and Roll Animal, which consisted of, you know, Velvet's tunes. Both of these live albums came out the same year. They were both, you know, snapped up by critics. You know, Rock and Roll Animal, I think, sold better than this did. But I never heard any tracks from this on the radio growing up. But, you know, again, you should have. I heard Sweet Jane from Rock and Roll Animal on the radio. You know, if you didn't know what the live Velvets sounded like, although they had had a live album in 72 as well called Live at Madison Kansas City, but if you'd never heard of stuff before, you wouldn't even know that they almost had the Grateful Dead in concert. They jammed. They had long, you know, meandering tunes, but it worked. If you like the Velvets, this is great. This is a 5-star album. It works. All right. 21, 22, 23, 24. It's Kraftwerk's Autobahn. Now, they had albums before this. This is the first one, though, that really, you know, broke them out of just being a German krautrock band. Well, the title song was a hit here, but the whole album is good. Side 2 is not as good as side 1, but it's impeccably recorded. This is the surround sound mix I just can't think came out last year. So if krautrock is at all your thing, pick this up. It's synthesized electronic music from German musicians circa 1974. Doesn't sound anything like Tangerine Dream, which I will also show you on this show. Okay. That was 25. 26. Utopia. Yes, I actually like this album more than the Todd album. It's totally a prog album, which shows you, why I'm biased. This is a long record. I never had the vinyl growing up, but it must have not sounded that good because, there's like a half-hour song on here, I think, on side 2. But I love the first one, Utopia theme. That's one of my favorite Todd Rundgren songs, period. So there you are. Okay, so what are we? 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. That was 26, folks. 27. It's Gene Clark's and No Other. I've got a big surround sound box set of this too, but I just like to grab CDs. It's just faster to show you. I don't know. Is this the best Gene Clark album? Hard to say. Some would say it's overproduced. The overproduction, if indeed it is, doesn't bother me. This is the last album of this quality he would make. Whereas before this, I think every Gene Clark album was worth their time. I didn't have Roadmaster in my last video, but I could have. That's a good collection of recordings from previous sessions too. But this is all meant to be heard as an album. A lot more money went into. He was on Asylum, I think, right? With David Geffen. More money went into the production of this album. I don't know about the promotion than any other Gene Clark record, and it didn't sell. So that would be the last time anyone would take that kind of chance on Gene Clark. Too bad, because it's really good. All right, 39, 28. Some would say I'm rating this pretty high. Odds and Sods. This is the 1974 collection of Who odds and ends that had mostly not been released before. This expanded CD, though, is great. It's, over 20 tracks. It's an easy listen, and I'm a Who fanatic. So even though they didn't have an album this year, and this is no Quadrophenia, I'm putting this in my top 30. Odds and Sods. All right. 29 is Todd. Yes, I did put this underneath Utopia. Some people say, no, this is a better album. This was another double record. It's got some filler, though. It's got some great stuff, like any Rundgren album in the 70s does. It's got some questionable stuff. It's not a Wizard of True Star. It's not, something anything, but it still has a lot of greatness in it. Oh, yeah, my number 30, another childhood favorite, The Hoople. We had Mott, now we have The Hoople. All right? This is the last good one, In fact, I don't remember how many albums they made after this. But it's solid. Maybe not quite as good as Mott, but it's certainly good enough. And look, it makes my top 30. That shows you that I was a fan. I was an Ian Hunter fan. All right. 21 through 30. Let's do 31 through 40. All right. Grievous Angel. Graham Parsons. More country rock par excellence. Graham died about this time, and he's not writing as much material as was on the previous album, but it's still great. Who are we going to kid ourselves? Many would tell you that this is a classic. All right, and it probably is, especially if you're a grandpa. All right, that's 31. 32. New York Dolls and Too Much Too Soon. Not quite as good as their first album, but still packs a wallop. Still has more of an R&B flavor than the first one, although the first one did too. Okay, this is glam, this is pre-punk, whatever you want to call it. Johnny Thunder's loud, cantankerous guitar. I love it. That's 32, yeah. 33. Apostrophe. This is Frank Zappa's biggest selling album of the 70s. It had Yellow Snow on it. It's great, but I mean, he made a great album virtually every year. Maybe not in 71, but 72, 3, 4. They'll do it again in 75. You know, this kind of starts off like a concept LP with Nanook, and then just kind of devolves after a few tracks. But it's still wonderful. All right. So that's 31, 2. It's 33. 34. Tom Waits. The Heart of Saturday Night. Is this better than Closing Time? I don't know. I like them both about the same. Some days I might tell you this is a bit of a progression over that album, but I don't know. They're both great. I like virtually every Tom Waits album of the 70s and the 80s. So these are all strong. All right. I was 34. 35 so quickly after Apostrophe is Roxy. And also, I got a box set of this. These shows are so good. This is the best live Zappa of the decade, right? I mean, to me, this is a classic live album. And again, Zappa's another artist who did a studio album and a really good live album this year. Okay? All right. That's 35, I guess. 36. Gentle Giant, Power and the Glory. All right? This is very progressive. This is not an easy listen, but it's awesome. It's great. It's I would say it's one of the better Gentle Giant albums, but I mean, they're all, at this point, they're all good. You know? Power and the Glory. Is that 36? 37. Bridge of Sighs. Robin Trower. I like it better than this year's Procol Harum album, Grand Hotel. That's not a bad album either, but this is better. I used to get that song, boom, 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 title track, stuck in my head for days. Bridge of Sighs, used to good effect in the 1991 film Rush. Not about the Canadian power trio, Rush. Okay, that was 35, 36, 37. Here's 38. Now, this is Gong's You, which I'm going to use the booklet, the book from the Virgin years, 73 to 75, Life from the Planet Gong. This could be my favorite Gong album. If you get the box set, you get half this album in surround. It's trippy. It's psychedelic. That's the front cover, U, Y-O-U, and that's the back cover. All right, I'm going to show you guys a Gong album every time I think that I should, even though I know probably not very few of you are ever going to go buy a Gong album. That's one of those bands, you're either hip to them or you're not. All right, or you're not. So that's 35, 36, 37, 38. All right, that was 38. 39, Bad Company. I can't deny. This is the best Bad Company album. It's almost wall-to-wall hits. Radio loved this record when I was a kid. And even though I think that there are great songs on the other Bad Company albums of the 70s, you know, Paul Rodgers was a great singer. This is the Steve Hoffman version. Let's see what's on there. Nothing is as good as this. This is like, to me, this is as good as like Montrose the previous year. You know, if you can have one Montrose album, that's it. If you can have one Bad Company album, this is it. Okay, for my number 40, Santana, Lotus. Their official album this year was Borboleta. It's a good album too. It's a fusion album, not as good as Caravanserai, but this album's a monster. I want to say this came out in 73 in some parts of the world. So maybe I should have put this in my 73 video, but this was a triple live album. It's awesome. There's a surround sound mix of this. The packaging, the LP packaging was very elaborate, mimicked on this Japanese CD here, but I'm not gonna take it out because it's just too much to show you. But one of the great live albums of the 70s and one of the great Santana albums ever. That's my number 40. All right. 41 through 50. Brian Eno, Here Come the Warm Jets. We're still in great territory here. We haven't even got to good yet. All right? Not as good, you know, as Country Life, but this is a hell of a great record. I love all three of the pop albums that he made, Brian, in the 70s, you know, other than his ambient stuff or his work with Fripp. But this is, you know, for a debut album, this just really kicks ass. That's 41. 42. Hawkwind, Hall of the Mountain Grill. I just did a show on Hawkwind. This, for a time, was my favorite Hawkwind studio album. I don't know what it is anymore, but that just shows you how strong this is. And, you know, we're at 42 now. And we're still on really great albums. So, see, there's a lot of good stuff in 74. Just, I don't know how many great 5-star albums there were as compared to other years, but there's tons of good stuff. All right, that's 42. 43. Oh, you know I'm a deadhead, folks. From the Mars Hotel. I'm going to show you. I should have looked for my Mo Fidelity version of this, but I knew where this one was, so it was easy to find. All right. About as good as Wake of the Flood. Not as good as Blues for Allah, but solid. It's a solid Dead album. All right. That was 43. 44 is Queen 2. Now, do I really like this album more than Sheer Heart Attack? I got Sheer Heart Attack coming up right after this, virtually. Hard to say. You know, I played them both in my life about as much. You know, it's solid. It rocks. It's also got some proggy tendencies. It's right up my alley. That's 44. 45. I Want to See the Bright Lights Tonight. Richard and Linda Thompson, of course, the magnificent husband and wife duo. Richard of, Fairport Convention fame. It's a solid record. First heard about this in the Paul Gambaccini book in the 1970s about the greatest rock albums of all time. I haven't followed the career of Richard Thompson as much as I perhaps should have, because he has any number of highly regarded albums. But this, of the ones I've heard in the 70s, this one's my favorite. All right. Okay. That's 45. 46 is Planet Waves. Planet Waves, for Dylan, it's average. It's a good, solid album. I mean, you know, you can see I've got it here at, 46? And you know what? Equally good. I just, I already explained, I didn't want to put it on here as Before the Flood. If I would have been like I did in my 1965 video, I would have cheated and just said this and Before the Flood are tied. But that's a solid live album. It's a solid band album too, since they're playing on all those tracks. Planet Waves went to number 1. You know, Dylan is back, as they were saying, but he wouldn't really be back to the next year. And Blood on the Tracks. But this is a good album. All right. 47. Phaedra, Tangerine Dream. More krautrock, more psychedelic. It's not really ambient, but it's it's something to put on and then ingest your favorite chemicals. As in any number of Tangerine Dream albums from the 70s. Rubicon, you know. Anyways, this could be the first album of theirs I ever bought. I don't remember now. I don't know if I got this or Rubicon first. All right. 48 is Sheer Heart Attack, Japanese version. Again, do I really like this less than Queen 2? It's hard to say. I don't know, I like them both about the same. About the same. Another strong Queen album before they would really break out the next year. Okay, 49. You used to play this album a lot. All right, this is kind of Supertramp, Crime of the Century. This is the old Mo-Fi version. I bought this a long time ago, and I've never upgraded. I don't think you need to. It sounds great. The volume's a little low. But, what do you call this? Just English pop, prog. I know a lot of proggers consider these guys to be, if it's not prog, it's prog adjacent. But it's a great record. School might be my favorite song of theirs. Hard to say. And number 50, I'm going to squeeze this one in. What were once vices are now habits. Doobie Brothers, still another strong Tom Johnston era Doobies album. If you got their greatest hits album in '76, which of course I have. This one has, no, I can't read it. Another Something Sunday, which was a top 40 hit for them. I can't recall the title, and it wasn't on that greatest hits album. It's a strong record though. Not quite as good as Captain and Me or even Toulouse Street, but strong enough. Strong enough. All right. Okay, so that is my top 50. 1 second. Yep, that's my top 50. Only 20 more to go, folks. This is 51 through 60. Rounding out David Bowie. Bowie Live. Stages is good too, but I have played this in my life more than I have played. It's still a rock album. He's dressed, you know, he's already moved on to his kind of Philly soul phase in look, and you know the Young Americans are right around the corner, but he's still performing the Ziggy era material. This is on the Diamond Dogs tour, but I think there's a lot of Aladdin Sane stuff on here too. I like it, you know. It's not. I like Live Bowie, so that's 51. 52 is Can, Soon Over Babaluma. More krautrock, folks. This is not as good as any Can album that I've shown you, but it's still good enough. That's kind of like 1974 itself, you know. Can made better albums, but this is still good enough to include on a, you know, year-end top 70 list. This is the SACD, which I like. I like all the Can SACDs. That's 52. 53 is Linda Ronstadt's Heart Like a Wheel, her best album. I'm getting it from this CD here, The Capitol Years, the best of Linda Ronstadt. It's got two of her, or three. Yeah, Hand Sewn, Homegrown, Silk Purse, Linda Ronstadt, and Heart Like a Wheel. 4. It's got 4 of her albums. Anyways, Heart Like a Wheel. This doesn't reproduce the cover on here. That's the cover. It is her greatest album. I don't mind Linda Ronstadt, even though, you know, people think, oh, she didn't write her material. What a voice. What a cutie. I got a handful of her albums, and they're mostly all good. Although on this set, only Heart Like a Wheel is a really good album. All right. Okay, that's 51, 52. It's 53. 54. You know, guys, metal is really starting to pick up in 74. This is the first, I think, they're no longer space rock, is the first great UFO album. Phenomenon. It's Michael Schenker, you know, just announcing his presence right away with, oh God, why can't I read it? Oh well, that first one with that killer riff, Rock Steady, is that what it's called? Anyways, what a guitar player, what a band, what an album. I'm rating this above, you know, Judas Priest Rock-a-Rolla, which is another good album, metal album that came out this year. But this is better. This is better, folks. That's 54. 55. This is still a great Leonard Cohen album. You know, we're in 55 of the year, and I could be rating this higher. Some would say this is the last classic Cohen album for quite some time. But at this point, he had done nothing but release classics. I like the live album from the previous year. All right? New Skin for Old Territory. A decent amount of this was put on his Greatest Hits album, which came out a couple years after, or 3 years after this. Okay. 6. Is it 56? Little Feat. Beats Don't Fail Me Now. This is the deluxe edition, which came out last year. I mean, not too long ago. All right. It's a great album. May not be quite the classic that, you know, Sailing Shoes or Dixie Chicken are, but it's better than their first album. Their first album's pretty good. Beats Don't Fail Me Now. Kick-ass, Lowell George, LA funky rock. All right. 6, 7. 57 is the Raspberries. Okay, I'm going to show you this because it's the Starting Over album, but I got to find you again. They don't print the album covers that well. There we go. I see it now. There's 2 albums on this little CD set of theirs. That's Starting Over. It's a great. This was good too. Side 3. Yeah, I can't think of the title, but Starting Over is great. Again, power pop. maybe not as lasting to these years as Big Star, but more popular than Big Star at the time. All right, Raspberries starting over. All right, 58 is Virtuoso, Joe Pass. Not showing you too many jazz albums this year, so this will be it. And guess what he was? He was a guitar virtuoso. This CD sounds great. He was an awesome guitar player, and I think if you like guitar playing at all, you'll be impressed with this album. All right, 59. Rick Wakeman. This is a childhood favorite. Journey to the Center of the Earth. Oh, I wasn't a child when I first heard it, but you know, many, many decades ago. I had this twice. I have the Low Fidelity silver disc, which I'm showing you, and I have the gold disc. This is a concept album, you know, the Jules Verne novel. The narration is cheesy, but the music's good. Not as good as Yes's Relayer that year, but I still like it. Okay, and for number 60 is Shuggie Otis, Inspiration Information. That's a, you know, he's another guy that you have to be like a critic to even know who he was. This is his album. I don't know if he did another one, but everyone who has heard this album thinks it's great. Inspiration Information. And check it out, rockers who don't own enough black music in their collections. Okay, that's my top 60. 61 through 70. Moving on. Jay Giles Band, Nightmares. Is that what it's called? And Other Tales from the Vinyl Jungle. This is the quad mix. This could be my favorite Jay Giles album. The first one's really good. They never had a 5-star album. They had a lot of good songs, though, spread out over all of their 70s albums. You heard them on the radio, but not a whole lot. They weren't staples. But is this one must have got lost? Yeah, you heard that one. That was probably their biggest hit at the time. So there you go. That's 61. 62, Sparks, Kimono My House. You're either hip to Sparks or you're not. Most Americans don't even know who these guys were. I wouldn't know who they were unless I read about, you know, albums that are popular in Britain. Though they're never advertised as such. But it's certainly good enough to have this on my show. All right, Sparks, Kimono My House. All right, that's 61, 63. Taking Tiger Mountain by Strategy, another great Eno album. This was the first Eno album I ever bought. It's still a classic. I mean, you know, we're almost at the end of my list here, and we still have very good albums. You know, on another day, I might tell you that this is a great album. All right, so there you go. Okay, that's 63. 64, Eagles on the Border, one of the first Eagles albums I ever bought. I certainly had this album before I had the first two. You know, I don't know if I had this one before I had Hotel California. This is the, you know, Don Felder's in the band and they're rocking harder. And, you know, management wanted a new sound for the Eagles after the disappointing sales of Desperado. Desperado's a great album. But so is this, On the Border. You know? And if, again, just like the Doobie Brothers Greatest Hits album in 76, if you have the Eagles Greatest Hits album in 76, it does not have James Dean. And James Dean, you heard that on the radio. That was a hit. It may not have been a top 40 hit, but you heard it. All right? Okay. '65 is Jorma Kaukonen's Kwa. This is an album he did with another guitar player. It's just two guys playing acoustics guitars and Jorma's songs, and they're, for the most part, this is a great album. It's a folky album. He's taking a break from his hot tuna, hard rocking stuff, and he's kind of returning to his folk roots. And this is the best album to bear Jorma's name as a solo artist in the 70s, and he only made two, this one and Jorma Kaukonen in 79, but it's strong, and I like this better than I like Dragonfly, which is the Jefferson Airplane album of 74. That's a good album too, but not a great one. All right. Okay. 68, 67, 66, Toots and the Maytals, In the Dark. I don't even remember if this is an album or if it's a compilation, but I like it. It's got 54, whatever, 36, that's my number. I can't see. There's not enough light in this room. Looks like there is, but not enough for me to read that. Oh, you probably can though, maybe. I don't know. This is the surround sound mix. I got turned on to Toots and the Maytals pretty early in my obsession with reggae, which you're going to see more and more reggae albums as the 70s years goes on. But there you go. I think this could be their best album. One of them anyway. All right. 67, Ry Cooder, Paradise and Lunch. This was the first Ry Cooder album I ever owned. Here's the Mo Fidelity version. So yes, I had the album way before this came out. This was in the Paul Gambaccini book. It's one of a handful of Ry's 70s records I would recommend. You know, he was rather low-key. He would take these songs, you know, from the public domain, and so he wouldn't have to pay any money, and he, you know, would just record them in his own inimitable fashion. He was a great guitar player, and he put out a whole number of albums. He's also into all kinds of, you know, different types of music. So there you are, Paradise and Lunch. All right, 68, Up for the Downstroke. Everybody get up. Parliament. Folks, Parliament did so many good, so did P-Funk. That, I mean, I could do a show. I really should. And I should have been having more funk, P-Funk records on these top 70 albums, years, shows. But this is great. I don't even know what my favorite Parliament album would be, because they did so many good ones without putting out like a 5-star one. But anyways, I'm proud to say this is the first one on my show. Okay, 69. This is from my buddy Adam, who's going to crap himself if I don't have the Rolling Stones album on here, because he says I forgot Goat's Head Soup in 73. This is a pretty good record. So is Goat's Head Soup. I probably played this growing up more than I played Goat's Head Soup. It's only rock and roll. It's solid. It's just not great. You know, there is a few filler cuts, but mostly it's pretty good. You know, like the Guy Peelhart cover. But this is the Stones on Cruise Control. This is them coasting. Like Goat's Head Soup was. Like Black and Blue is going to be. Right? But it is good enough to make my list. And there you go. And for the last one, just squeaking in, and just to piss off some people, Kiss. Kiss's first album, 1974. They also did a Higher Than Hell that year. That's also kind of a cheesy classic if you're like me, just a kid. I was actually buying Kiss albums in the mid-70s. I was in the Kiss Army in 1975, right? The way I had these albums was they had a triple album called Kiss the Originals, which had their first 3 albums. That's how I had it, I think, if memory serves. I'm going to say this is slightly better than Higher Than Hell. It's solid. None of these songs are done better than they would be on the Alive album, though, next year. But this is good enough, and it's just good enough to make my top 70. So that's Matt. 52 minutes, God, I'm a long one. Signing off. We'll see you next time. I'll do one more tomorrow. I'm not going to be here next weekend, so I don't know if I'm going to be doing a year top 70 albums of 75 video, but I might squeeze it in before I leave. We'll see. And tomorrow I'll do one too. Bye-bye.